Yes, of course. So the markets are always overreacting. So we're seeing this on the positive and on the negative side. For instance, when steel prices increasing, then our share prices are heading up. And when steel prices are going down, our share price is also going down, more significantly sometimes. It doesn't make any sense because we have to have a more mid or long-term view, but markets are overreacting. So I'm now since more than 10 years the CEO of Klockner. I was before that I was 3 years CFO, and I've seen that a couple of times.
I want to just try and nail this relationship because I see it, he sees it. We've been in this market for, one way or another for 3 decades. I see the volatility on the back of small changes in news flow from Klockner and others as more extreme than I've ever seen it as well. So does that diminish the importance of markets for you, or does it heighten it as well? I.e., are you less inclined to go to market to raise capital? Are you less inclined to use the market for various fundraising or M&A activities? As mentioned, we have to clearly see it more mid or long term. We cannot focus so much on the short term. And it was even not the news flow of Klockner, because our news flow hasn't changed since in the last couple of months. It was the overall mood was switched significantly also in the US in the last couple of weeks, from very positive to very negative in Europe too. We hope that it is not self-fulfilling, because we are in the end also seeing that markets are slowing down somewhat, steel markets. But it's not bad. We are still on a very high level compared, for instance, to 2015 in terms of demand and prices.
Let's just pick up on that, because the perception is that China is slowing down, that global growth is slowing down, and that the auto industry is at the moment in a bit of a pickle for all sorts of reasons, particularly in Germany, which is what the German economy minister said to me. There are short-term real problems here. So I think the nervousness around the share price is probably understandable at this point. But maybe you could give some clarity on some of those particular issues as to what you're seeing.
So automotive has slowed down last year, no doubt about, in Europe, also in the US. But overall, demand from industry is still good in Europe, and especially in North America. In China, we also see a certain slowdown, but we expect here that the government will react with investments going forward. And therefore, markets are a bit weaker compared to last year, no doubt about. Markets are a bit slower. But in the end, they are still on a we're coming from a very high level. So we're coming from an extraordinary high level, and now it's getting a bit weaker. But this is not a crisis or not a recession. So in my point of view, we see we are much too negative here. Also in Davos, most of the people are much too negative. It's not getting that negative.
Patrick Pouyanné was sat in that seat yesterday from Total, and when we talked to him about battery technology, he said we need to make sure that we develop this in the interests of European workers, and we need to be concerned that we don't end up going the same way we did with other EV technology that the Chinese have now dominated the market in. Is there a question of this with you? All we've ever seen is the steel market in Europe contract because of low-cost competition coming in from the Chinese and other Asian producers. Do we need to start getting a little bit of pushback from Europe to say to these low-cost competitors from Asia, we're going to erect barriers if you keep dumping and you keep manipulating the market?
Yeah, they're not even low-cost competitors. So the Chinese steel producers are not really producing at lower cost, but there are still significant overcapacities, and these overcapacities are always then streaming to the world markets. And the US have set up the tariffs, and we will see tariffs too in Europe. So there is a certain counterattack which will help. But overall, the steel markets will need to come in more balance. But this will only be possible when Chinese capacity, overcapacity, is reduced further.